Well, hello there. And I'm sorry for this interruption, but Passon, who recorded Last of Us 2 um, review that's getting ready to air, he forgot to say one very important thing, and that is to those people who were out there sending death threats and harassing the voice and mocap actors from The Last of Us 2, um, y'all really need to get a better life, man. Because threatening people over doing their job. They didn't write the scripts. They didn't make the choices that were made in the game. It was all done. That was Naughty Dog. And either you liked the game or you didn't. I'm sure if you hated it that much, you would have got a refund, or you wouldn't even played it through. So obviously, there was something that had kept you guys playing. Anyway, don't be so fucking toxic and send death threats and hateful emails to voice actors and mocap actors who worked very, very hard to bring you this game. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get the Sins review, and I will catch you all later. Deuces. What is good? What is good? What is really, really good? This is your boy, Big Sin, back here looking all old time in black and white, but there is a reason for that today. We are going to be reviewing one of the most decisive games of 2020. Go ahead and hit that music. All right, so yes, as you see, we are now reviewing The Last of Us Part 2. Now, this game has been critic bombed and user review bombed the first couple days of its existence. And I understand why. There is a lot of negative things with this game. It carries a lot of baggage. So real quick, I just want to introduce you to the old cast who are joining us here in The Last of Us 2. So we have, of course, we have everybody's favorite father figure. We have Joel Miller, one of the greatest developed characters in gaming history. We also have from The Last of Us 1, his little brother, Tommy. And last but not least, we have, of course, Ellie. She's grown up. She's grown up a lot since we last seen her in the first Last of Us. So we're going to learn a lot about her journey over the last few years, right? Right? Well, we'll get into that in a minute. But let me introduce you to some of the most important characters for the sequel. We have Dina. Next up, we have, oops, my bad, hit the wrong button. We have Jesse. Then we have Isaac, the leader of the WLF. Then we have Manny, one of the soldiers for the WLF. Then we have Nora, the doctor for the WLF. Then we have Owen, who is one of the lead soldiers. We have Mel, another doctor, and as you can see, she is pregnant. And we have Abby. This woman right here is the reason for so much divisiveness with The Last of Us 2. Okay, so with that being said now, let's go ahead and let's get right to brass tacks here. In my honest opinion, The Last of Us 2 is a good game. it is bad. It did not do what the first game did as far as character development, and I'm going to get that into. We'll go through again those pictures of those characters one more time. We have just a lot to take in here. The Last of Us 2 is a long game. It's around 40 hours, maybe 50 if you want to get everything. And then, of course, they released a new game plus mode after you beat the game. So anyway, when you first start up the game, you're going to be welcomed by a calm water presence with a boat. So you go ahead and hit new game, story, let's go. Little loading screen as normal, and you open up to Joel and Tommy talking. Joel is telling Tommy that what he did at the end of the Last of Us, at the end of the Last of Us 1, in saving Ellie, telling him that they were going to kill her and he was selfish and he did what he did for this reason, yada yada yada. Any parent or father figure, excuse me. Any parent or father figure would probably make the same decision in that moment. So I don't really, I know if it was my daughter in that moment, and I would have probably done the same thing, more or less. So it was a very selfish move that Joel made at the end of The Last of Us, and then lied to Ellie about what happened. So they ride back to Jackson. Jackson is a town they develop, but they don't really tell you much about it. So we're going to let's go ahead and let me go back a couple. Oh, that's the all right. So Joel. So here we have Joel telling his brother Tommy that he saved Ellie's life because the Fireflies would have had to kill her in order for her to actually be of use. And let me just get back to all these pictures real quick. So now we're going to go through a little non-character development here. So this is Dina. Dina used to date Jesse, but now Dina is Ellie's girlfriend. All right, cool. So we find out that the guy who runs the bar said some derogatory stuff towards Ellie and Dina. He's an old-time guy, so it's probably some anti-homophobe bullshit that he spewed, which it ended up being. Oh yeah, and before you guys rush to judgment, there will be heavy spoilers in this because I'm going to break down the game and then my review of the game at the end and how it compared to The Last of Us 1. So let's get back to looking at Dina here. So this young lady, she's kind of a pain in the ass, she is, but Abby loves her. Jesse is basically their boss, their mentor, the guy who sends them out on rounds, and him and Dina are done. So, okay, so that's about as much character development as we get for, I'm blacked out, as we get for these two new, presumably important characters. But, and that is a big point missed when it comes to this game. The character development was not good. So, now that we know those are your basic 5 main characters from the good guy's side, now let's go ahead and go over some of these WLF characters. So we have Isaac. He is the guy who everybody answers to in the WLF. He is the leader. You don't meet him until almost the final act of the game. Manny, you meet him early in a segment that we're going to go over here very soon. Nora, you meet her the same. All these characters, Owen, you get some background on Owen. You know he used to be a Firefly. He is with Mel. Mel is pregnant with his child, and that's Mel. Abby used to be a Firefly. She was in the Salt Lake part of the how do you say she was in the Salt Lake portion of the Fireflies. So, okay, so we go to Jackson. We have this weird moment where we have the damn it, I'm losing my track of mind. Okay, so we start off as Joel. Joel goes in, he plays a song for Abby. They're doing okay with each other for the most part. So they're cool with each other, but you sense a little bit of an uneasiness. So then you go into, you start playing as Abby after a little part. That's where you find out about Tommy. He's married now. Then you go into this bar. You don't accept an apology, so you head out with Jesse to go do some rounds. Abby informs Jesse that Dina kissed her at the party. Yes, Dina, I'm talking to you. Kissed her at the party. So then we end up in a scene where we actually take control of this new character, Abby. And she is talking to Owen. So we now have control of this new character who nobody knows who or what she is there, what is going on with this character. You go through one, then you end up running into Joel and Tommy. Joel and Tommy save her life, basically, from the infected, and they go do this, that, and the other. So they're starting to get overran by these infected and other creatures. We have the runners, we have the infected, we have bloaters in this game. There's new ones called shamblers. They're like mini bloaters, but instead of throwing the acid things at you, they're like, oh, and they just shoot it out of their bodies. And they have one enemy that I have a picture of that is probably the best enemy in the game. We'll get to that in a little while. So anyway, so we are now playing as Abby, once again, this butch woman. So she takes, sorry, didn't mean to call her he. She takes Joel and Tommy to some safety. So Tommy's sitting there talking, hamming it up with her, and then said Joel Miller, and everybody in the room gets quiet. Sorry, Ellie. And everybody in the room gets quiet. Abby then turns around and blows Joel's leg almost in half with a shotgun. So this automatically makes you hate this woman. They beat up Tommy, and so then you go back to playing as Ellie. So you're going through town with Dina, you go through the place, you clean it up, there's clickers, infected, stuff like that in there. Then we are getting to the point where Jesse finds her and Dina just did their thing, had sex, and tells them Joel never came back. So Ellie, Dina, and Jesse split up. Ellie finds the house where they went, and we end up having our first death main character death of the game, and that is Joel Miller getting his head squashed by Abby with a 9-iron. So Joel is dead. This scene, about an hour and a half into the game, enraged everybody. I mean, some of my friends are like, man, fuck this game. I'm not playing this shit, even though they did beat it. Some people were like, oh my fucking God, I can't believe they did this shit. But we got to play devil's advocate here. We have to talk about Joel in particular, because he was very selfish, as we talked about before. So now let me just let's see something real quick. Let me just do that. Okay. So now I have a little bit more color here. Not much, but fuck it. So now we have a character you absolutely hate. You have been forced to control this character early on in this game. So I see where the hate is coming from. So now we go, you have an argument. Tommy leaves, Jackson, Abby, and Dina follow, go through Seattle. They end up going to a hospital in Seattle, which is, we'll go through the hit list real quick here. So Seattle, you go in over 3 days. Your first thing you're doing is you're looking for Nora in the hospital to get information. You run to Nora, you beat her to death, you get the info that you needed. Then you go a couple more days, you go to day 3, where you run into Owen and Mel. Kill Owen, kill Mel. Ellie does not realize Mel is pregnant until after the death blow. Then he dies. So then you go back. So then we have a weird transition. A very strange transition to where we're back at the theater, where Dina and Ellie are holed up. This camera is pissing me off, so let me just do some on-the-fly color management here. But yes. Oh! That's a little better. So, yeah, I edit the shit while I'm recording it. Fuck it. So now, then we have, they're doing their thing. Tommy's like, let's get Dina back because Dina's pregnant, as I said, with Jesse's child. They start planning to go back to Jackson. They're going to forget about Abby. They're going to drop it all. They're not going to avenge Joel's death. They're not going to do this, do that, and the other. So they start walking out. Jesse is first through the door. And then you get... then you get... dead. Jesse is dead. Not much more to say about it. He's dead. So now we have what we thought was going to be an important character dead, and now the game does. And then Tommy gets shot and drops to the ground. Then Ellie and Abby have a stare down, and then the game decides. Naughty Dog decides. I love you, Naughty Dog, but they decide to have you play a good 15 hours as Abby. Going through Seattle for 3 days just like you did Ellie. But what they were trying to do in Abby's story was get you to care about the character, which I know a lot of people did not, and they did not like that they were forcing this on you. So this is where we get a good hold of Manny, because Manny and Abby are together a lot. They seem to like to run together. So Owen is missing. Mel is not as pregnant as she is in this picture, but pregnant nonetheless, so they're going to look for Owen. Abby says she knows where he went. So now during the story, you find Mel and Owen. They're planning on going to Santa Barbara. Mel, and I think it's actually the picture from this scene right here, the scene from this picture. She tells Abby, "You're a piece of shit," and that was everybody's sentiment. But in doing so, we have met this young lady, Yara, and this character, Lev. They are two scars who are now being hunted by this other faction that the WLF has been fighting because Lev shaved his head. So, as you see in this picture, Yara has two arms, but in this one she only has one. So she has, what's that word? Compact syndrome, where the bones are crushed and her arms just, all the nerves are dying and whatnot. So Abby says, me and Lev are going to go get some medicine. So they go to the hospital and fight through a bunch of scars. You start to learn a bit about Lev. Not enough in my eyes, but he goes, because they were calling Lev a female name, Vivian. And he asked Abby, do you want to know why? And she's like, no, it doesn't matter to me. So, I mean, she was more likable, but because of what happened and the fact that we had no idea why she did what she did to Joel happened, which I will break down here after we go through this. I do want to show real quick before I continue. In this hospital scene, you meet up with one of the best new characters in the game, new monsters in the game, and that is the Rat King. This thing is grotesque, it is super funky, and that boss fight is one of the best in the game. Alright, so now let's get to the meat and potatoes of the... I ended up moving myself a little bit. Let me fix myself real quick. Told you, these are new and I'm learning how to do this shit on the fly from Mac. Anyway, let's get into the meat and potatoes of everything here. Okay, so the reason Abby killed Joel is not talked about until almost the end of the game. And the reason Abby killed Joel was she is the daughter of the doctor who Joel murdered. She is the daughter of the doctor who Joel murdered at the end of The Last of Us 1. The one who was getting ready to slice up Ellie and make the cure. That is why she killed Joel. But with 35 hours in, we already hate this woman, so nobody gives a shit. If they wanted to go this route, they should have gave Abby probably her in the WLF their own game. Don't call it The Last of Us 2. Call it like The Last of Us Universe or just a weird thing. I don't know, but I think it would have been better publicly received if we knew why she did what she did when she did it. Not left here like they just killed one of the greatest built, beloved characters in video game history. Whew. So that's where a lot of the negative response comes from. Now, let's talk about, so you fight through Abby, then I felt bad in this part because at the end of her journey, you and Lev end up at the theater. Jesse runs out, pop, shot right through the face. Manny died in another instance earlier on in the battle. Like I said, they did not give enough backstory for people to really give a shit. Isaac died at the hands of the young Lev's sister, saving Abby. So we had a lot of death and destruction all over the place. The WLF and the Scars went to a brilliantly set-piece war on Scars Island. And that was a very intense part. I really liked that. But so at this point, you're like, okay, I'm going to retake control of Ellie so we can right this wrong of her killing Joel. No, you're not. You are now controlling Abby as you hunt down and beat the everlasting shit out of Ellie. To which, at the end of the fight, Abby has a chance to slit Dina's throat, and Ellie says, please don't, she's pregnant. And I'm guessing in Abby's mind, she's like, okay, so was no, and you killed her, what do I give a shit? And Lev stopped her from killing Dina. All right, Abby gives a warning, don't let me see you again or I will kill you. Abby and Lev leave. So now we're going to go forward a few years, about a year and a half, I think, maybe a year and a half. Come back in on this farm where Ellie and Dina are living. It's very well protected, very well scouted. And the baby was born. The baby's name is JJ, after Joel and Jesse, his theoretical grandpa and his dad, his step-granddaddy and his dad. So you play with the baby, you do this and that. And so you're doing household errands and with the baby. So you go to get all the sheep in the farm, normal farm stuff that people who live that type of lifestyle do every day. But there's this baby sheep who got out of its pen, and during this time, in my playing of it, it was a little tense due to the fact that you never knew if something was going to happen. So I was always tensed up, prepared for something to pop out and do damage to Ellie or the baby. But the little lamb is behind this garden hoe and knocks it over, and then all of a sudden Ellie has a flashback of not being able to save Joel, and it is crushing and it's heartbreaking. Dina comes in, calms her down, then it comes and opens back up on Ellie after she just got done hunting, bringing a rabbit in. There's a horse sitting in front of the house. And no, look, I was pleasantly surprised. It was Tommy with a lot of scarring on the side of his head from getting shot right here, and a noticeable limp from taking the arrow from Lev through the leg. So he said that he found Abby, and he can't go because he's too banged up, but he wants Ellie to go. Ellie tells no. Tommy tells her to go fuck herself because she broke her promise. Dina goes out there, reads Tommy the Riot Act. And then later that night, Ellie basically abandons her new family. She abandons Dina and the baby, tells Dina that she's going, whether Dina wants her to or not, and she's going to go and kill Abby. Now we switch back to Abby and Lev down in Santa Barbara, California. You sold a pistol for some information about the Firefly still being in Santa Barbara, like Owen believed. So you're going through houses, cleaning up clickers, the basic stuff, killing clickers, infected, whatnot. Then you find this basement, turn on the radio, and you start talking to somebody. It's like, oh yeah, we're in this dome in the southern area of California. Just come here and you'll be treated really nice. So they get all excited, they get their shit, they leave, and these three people assault them. This big man who's about my size knocks out Lev, who is a little person, and they take Abby and Lev. So then it cuts back, and now Ellie is on a boat in Santa Barbara. It's a boat where Lev and Abby were living, where Tommy told Ellie they were. And so Ellie goes, doing the thing, takes an unnecessary, they added an unnecessary faction called the Rattlers. They're the most worthless, stupid characters in The Last of Us history. And that's being rude, but it's true. So you get hung upside down, you feed one of them to a clicker, you shoot the other one in the leg, he gives you the information, you kill him, you go to their base, you basically wipe the base clean, go down, free the prisoners, you're like, where's Abby? Blah, 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 blah. So they're like, oh, they took her because she tried to escape down the beach, and all this. So the prisoners go out and start warring with the Rattlers, who you basically wiped out. I don't know how there's anybody shooting still, because I made sure I killed everybody, because I was just like, fuck it, I'm killing everyone. See, everyone and me. So you go down this corridor, go out to the beach, and you find these posts with people hanging from them. And there's Abby, looking a little more feminine because she has now lost a lot of weight, because she's been starved, she has no energy, she's barely alive. You cut her down, and then she asks for Lev, so you go cut Lev down, and they're like, we got to get out of here. So they all go down to the beach. Abby puts Lev in a boat. Ellie starts to get her backpack and stuff in the other boat that's sitting there. Abby again flashes back to Joel, turns around and tells Ellie, flashes back to Joel, turns around to Abby, and Abby's like, I don't want to fight. It's over. We are done. And Ellie, being Ellie, puts a knife to Lev's throat and forces Abby to fight her. This fight is it's a very brutal exchange, but Ellie just beating the shit out of Abby at this point. And at one point, Abby bites off 2 of Ellie's fingers, so now she just has nubs. And you're in the midst of drowning Abby in the water, and they missed a prime opportunity here. They missed a prime opportunity of a little bit of replayability and to have 2 endings. One where you drown Abby and maybe just leave Lev in the boat to die, or turn on the motor, let him go, or take Lev back with you, or you let Abby live. Instead, that choice is taken out of your hands. You let Abby up. You tell her to go. She gets in a boat with Lev, never to be seen again in this game. Ellie goes back to the farm. Dina's gone. The baby's gone. All their stuff is gone. All of Ellie's stuff is in one room, including Joel's guitar. And the game ends with Ellie playing a little tune on the guitar and leaving it in the window, which was homage to Joel. We have one more cutscene where we learned the day before Joel died, Abby decided to forgive him because she found out that he lied to her and she was the only person who could possibly cure the infection, basically saving the world. She decided to forgive him. And the very next day, that's when Abby smashed his head in with a golf club. All right, let's get down to the reviews of this. I said I give this game, like I said, it is not a horrible game. It is good. It's a little long in the tooth towards the end, trying to find where I gave my score out to somebody who asked me about it. Okay, so gameplay. 4.5 out of 5. The controls are fucking dope. The melee combat was so much better than the first one. It was really good. Yes, there were some things. The walking cycles were funny. Some items you couldn't pick up unless you were, like in Final Fantasy, you had to turn to where the triangle would actually pop up so you could pick it up. The story is 3.5. The story was basically, we have this amazing story written in parts. How do we want to release them? Here. Let's throw darts at the spinning board to see which story part goes first. It was very disjointed. That was a major flaw in this game for me. So, and I'm sure if you knew why Abby did what she did, maybe the player base would have gave Abby more of a chance than they did, even though she tried to change and become a good person. Character development, fucking 1 out of 5, because every character that I went through here, let's go through them one more time real quick. From the new game, people you don't know who they are. Hi, Rat King. So we're going to skip over you real quick, my friend. She's fleshed out. Dead. 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 dead, dead, ongoing, dead, ongoing. You see the pattern there? There was no fleshing out of the characters. There's a lot of new characters added, but no fleshing out. Lev is awesome. Transgender character was very impactful when you met him. The only issue I had with him was when I'm trying to sneak up to kill clickers, he would be really loud running behind. And yeah, I almost turned around and just blew my shotgun at him, and we all would have died because there was a ton of clickers in the room. And the last thing I'm going to judge this game on is killing everything that is good and that you love about the game. They get a 10 out of 5 on that. This was a very depressing game. Overall, I will give it a 7 out of 10. I believe The Last of Us 1 was superior, and let me just say this now. There was no way in hell Naughty Dog was going to be able to live up to The Last of Us 1. And I think it was unfair for us to think they would, or even hope that they would. So, thank you for joining me here on Synful Blaq and my review of The Last of Us 2. We are going to get played out here by a little jingle, and I will catch you on the next one. My name is Big Sin, and I'm out this bitch. Deuces. I gotta redo that part. So, with that being said, we're gonna get played out here. Alright, so with that being said, my name is Big Sin. I hope you enjoyed these reviews. I'll be doing a lot more of them over time. I have a few that I need to record. They'll be going up on Tuesdays and Thursdays around 1 o'clock. And yeah, let's just get played out here by a little bit of a jingle from our song. I am out this bitch. Deuces. Bye.